America, the land of opportunity, and some of the weirdest purchases ever made. From a grilled cheese sandwich with the face of the Virgin Mary to an entire ghost town, people have spent their money on some truly unbelievable things. And today, we're diving into 101 of the weirdest. But before we start, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. What's the weirdest thing you have ever bought? Let's get started. 1. A grilled cheese sandwich that featured the Virgin Mary's face. Someone actually paid $28,000 for a 10-year-old grilled cheese sandwich on eBay just because they believed it had divine significance. And the seller? They had already taken a bite out of it before realizing it was holy toast. The best part? They claimed the sandwich never molded, which is either a miracle or just terrifying food science. 2. An entire ghost town. A man bought the abandoned Cerro Gordo town in California for $1.4 million. His plan? To turn it into a Wild West resort. His reality? The place was already full of creepy noises, haunted mine shafts, and ghost stories that date back to the 1800s. Great investment, if you want to spend every night wondering if you're about to be cursed. 3. A billionaire paid $1 million for a solid gold Monopoly set. A collector with way too much money commissioned a fully playable Monopoly board made from solid gold, with diamond-encrusted dice. Ironically, he still ended up losing to his 10-year-old nephew. 4. A billionaire paid $50,000 to rent an entire roller coaster for himself for a day. Not wanting to wait in line like regular people, a wealthy man rented an entire amusement park ride for a private experience. Employees said he rode it twice, then left. 5. The right to name someone's baby. One couple auctioned off their unborn baby's name on eBay, and the highest bidder paid $6,800 to name the child. GoldenPalace.com. That's right. They named their kid after an online casino. And just imagine that kid having to explain their name in school. No, it's not a joke. My parents actually sold my name to the internet. 6. A man spent $15,000 to turn himself into a real-life elf. Obsessed with fantasy, a man underwent multiple plastic surgeries, including ear reshaping and eye color alteration, to become a real elf. The only thing missing? A job in Santa's workshop. 7. A wedding dress from a failed marriage, with savage commentary. After her marriage fell apart, one woman sold her ex-husband's wedding dress on eBay, but she didn't just list it. She wrote an absolutely brutal description about how the dress survived longer than the marriage. Bidders loved the drama, and the dress sold for thousands. Some people get therapy, others profit from their heartbreak. 8. A single-letter license plate. In California, vanity license plates are a huge deal. And when a single-letter plate, just the letter F, went up for sale, someone spent millions to own it. The price? Totally ridiculous. But the power move of driving around with just F on your car? Priceless. 9. A half-eaten hamburger from a celebrity's plate. At an exclusive gala, a famous actor took a single bite of a gourmet burger and left it on their plate. A fan managed to grab it and listed it on eBay, where it sold for over $2,000. Cold burger, hot price. 10. A banana duct-taped to a wall. An artist named Maurizio Catalan taped a regular banana to a white wall, called it art, and it sold for $120,000. Just when the world was starting to process this, another guy walked up and ate the banana on camera. Moral of the story? Art is weird, and rich people will buy anything. 11. A millionaire paid $100,000 to be cryogenically frozen with his cat. Convinced that the future holds the secret to immortality, a man spent 6 figures to be frozen after death. The twist? He insisted his beloved cat be preserved alongside him, just in case future scientists can bring them both back. 12. A man spent $20,000 on a lucky horseshoe that supposedly belonged to a famous racehorse, claiming it would bring him wealth and success. Though ironically, he just lost $20,000. 13. A collector bought a single corn chip that looked like a shark's fin for $500. The seller claimed it was the rarest chip ever found, while the buyer called it a one-of-a-kind treasure. 14. Nicolas Cage's haunted mansion. Nicolas Cage once bought the infamous LaLaurie Mansion in New Orleans, one of the most haunted houses in America, because he thought it would help him write horror stories. Instead, he lost it to foreclosure. Either the ghosts scared him away or his accountant did. 15. A single M&M with mystical powers. A woman once sold a single brown M&M for $500, claiming it had mystical energy. I'd love to know if the buyer ever found enlightenment, or just a stale piece of candy. 16. The original Hollywood sign letters. When Hollywood decided to upgrade its famous sign, the old letters were auctioned off. Someone actually paid 6 figures for a giant rusty O, just to say they owned a piece of history. Imagine trying to fit that thing in your living room. 17. A tissue used by a famous actor during an emotional interview. After a tearful interview on national television, a well-known actor discarded a tissue. A quick-thinking crew member grabbed it and sold it online for $3,500. Emotional breakdowns pay well. If you could buy something weird, what would it be? 18. A spoon used by a famous singer at a luxury restaurant. A pop star dined at an upscale restaurant and briefly used a spoon before switching utensils. The restaurant kept it and later sold it for $1,200, claiming it was a piece of music history. 19. A couch from Oprah's set. A die-hard Oprah fan spent $7,000 just to own the exact couch she sat on during her talk show. Let's be honest, if you're going to spend that much, at least make sure Oprah comes with it. 20. A haunted doll that moves on its own. Some people buy cute teddy bears. Others actively look for possessed dolls. One buyer spent $3,000 on a doll that reportedly changes positions at night. Personally, I'd pay $3,000 to make sure that thing stays locked in a vault forever. 21. A luxury brand sold a $25,000 USB drive made of pure platinum. It held only 128 GB of storage, but buyers insisted it was a statement piece, because nothing says wealth like overpaying for a flash drive. 22. A restaurant once sold a $2,300 pizza topped with edible 24-karat gold, truffles, and caviar. The customer who bought it said it tasted good, but not life-changing, which is the understatement of the year for a pizza that costs more than rent. 23. A woman paid $10,000 for a burrito she refused to eat because it was too perfect. A collector of unusual food items bought a burrito with an allegedly flawless shape, calling it a culinary masterpiece. Instead of eating it, she stored it in a glass case. How long before it turns into a biological experiment? 24. A man spent $40,000 on a professional water sommelier to personally select the best bottled water for him. The sommelier curated a collection of over 300 bottles from around the world, each with a unique taste profile. Because apparently tap water just wasn't fancy enough. 25. Someone spent $12,000 on a pair of jeans worn by a 19th century gold miner. A rare pair of Levi's from the 1800s, found in an abandoned mine, sold for a small fortune. The jeans were falling apart, but the buyer called them a piece of American history. 26. A person spent $15,000 on a single whisker from a lion that once belonged to a famous zoo. They claimed it was a piece of history, though to most people it was just a stray piece of fur. 27. A collector paid $15,000 for a VHS tape of The Lion King with a rare misprint on the cover, believing it was an ultra-valuable edition, despite experts saying it was basically worthless. 28. A cornflake shaped like Michael Jackson. Forget Illinois-shaped cornflakes. Someone once found a cornflake that they claimed looked like Michael Jackson and sold it online for $1,300. Somewhere out there, a bowl of cereal is full of undiscovered A-list celebrities. 29. A piece of the moon, sort of. A man in Florida once bought what he believed to be a real moon rock for $50,000. Turns out, it was just a chunk of asphalt. Let this be a lesson. If someone offers to sell you a piece of the moon, maybe ask for a receipt. 30. A wedding ring that was swallowed by a fish. A fisherman found a diamond ring inside a fish, and instead of keeping it, he sold it on eBay for thousands of dollars. Some people go to jewelry stores, others just go fishing. 31. A man bought a single tooth from a medieval skeleton for $8,000, convinced it belonged to a long-lost king, though DNA testing later suggested it was just from a random peasant. 32. Someone paid $12,000 for a single shoelace that once belonged to an NBA player. The seller claimed it was from a historic game-winning match, though there was no actual proof. The buyer framed it and called it a priceless piece of sports history. 33. A man bought a pair of psychic sunglasses for $200 that supposedly allowed him to see people's true auras. Whether they actually worked or just had really dark lenses, the seller refused to offer refunds. 34. A woman paid $8,000 for a haunted wedding veil. Claiming that the veil had once belonged to a bride who vanished on her wedding night, the seller warned of ghostly whispers. The buyer wore it once, then locked it in a closet. 35. A billionaire paid $500,000 for a fully functional Batmobile replica, complete with working gadgets and a flame-throwing exhaust. Too bad it wasn't street legal. 36. Someone paid $10,000 for a cursed pirate's telescope, which reportedly caused strange shadows to appear in the buyer's home. Either a supernatural nightmare or just bad lighting. 37. A man spent $1.5 million on a doomsday bunker in his backyard. Paranoid about the apocalypse, a man built a fully stocked underground bunker behind his house, complete with a luxury bedroom, gym, and a 20-year supply of canned beans. His neighbors? Not invited. 38. A hot tub for a horse. Yes, someone actually paid $40,000 to get a customized hot tub for their horse. Meanwhile, most of us are out here debating whether we can afford a gym membership. 39. Someone paid $6,000 for a lock of Marilyn Monroe's hair, claiming they wanted to own a piece of Hollywood history. Hopefully, they didn't try to clone her. Hit that like button if you've ever thought, I would never spend money on that, and tell me what you would never buy. 40. A single-page script from The Office, with coffee stains. A script page from the TV show The Office went up for auction. It had actual coffee stains from the set, which only made it more valuable. Someone paid $7,000 for what was essentially a piece of paper ruined by caffeine. 41. A suit made out of human hair. Because the world needed something more unsettling than haunted dolls, someone once paid thousands of dollars for a full suit made entirely of human hair. The only question that remains is, whose hair was it? 42. A billionaire spent $50,000 on a crystal-infused pillow that promised to give him prophetic dreams, only to complain later that all he dreamed about was spreadsheets. 43. A tank full of lobsters with celebrity names. A seafood restaurant auctioned off a tank of lobsters, but with a twist. Each lobster was named after a different celebrity. The buyer ended up releasing them all into the ocean, which means there might be a lobster out there named Brad Pitt, still living his best life. 44. A car that was touched by Beyoncé. A used car once skyrocketed in price because someone claimed Beyoncé had touched it while walking past. There was zero proof, but it still sold for thousands. 45. A man spent $15,000 on a UFO detector from the 1950s. The device, allegedly built by a scientist to detect alien signals, was auctioned off as a historic artifact. The buyer? Convinced it would prove extraterrestrial life, it never beeped once. 46. A billionaire built a full-scale replica of Hogwarts in his backyard. A die-hard Harry Potter fan spent millions constructing a real-life version of Hogwarts, complete with moving staircases and a great hall. Sadly, still no actual magic. 47. A billionaire spent $50,000 to teach his fish how to play soccer. A wealthy pet lover hired a professional animal trainer to teach his goldfish how to push a tiny ball into a goal. The fish showed moderate interest, but the real winner was the trainer, who got paid for it. 48. A haunted doll was sold for $3,000 after its owner claimed it whispered at night. The buyer reported that the doll started moving on its own. Real or not, it's probably best to sleep with one eye open. 49. A millionaire spent millions to move an entire mountain. An oil tycoon in California didn't like the view from his mansion, so instead of moving, he paid to have an entire mountain flattened. The project took months and millions of dollars. Also, this guy could watch the sunset without an inconvenient hill in the way. 50. Someone spent $5,000 on a mermaid transformation experience, where they were trained by professional divers to swim like a real mermaid in a custom-made tail. Apparently, it's harder than it looks. 51. A billionaire paid $75,000 to have a private escalator installed in his house, next to a regular staircase. He claimed he didn't always feel like taking the stairs, but guests said it was just awkwardly slow. 52. A woman paid $5,000 for a psychic reading for her goldfish. Convinced her pet fish had a mysterious aura, a woman hired an animal psychic to communicate with it. The psychic claimed the fish's past life was filled with adventure. The fish, meanwhile, just kept swimming. 53. A rare tortilla chip shaped like a perfect equilateral triangle sold for $7,500. The buyer called it mathematically flawless, while the rest of us just see a very expensive snack. 54. A town in Texas sold its official mayor position for $100,000. A small town auctioned off the title of mayor for life, allowing the highest bidder to rule forever, symbolically. A man paid $100,000 and now holds the most useless yet expensive political title ever. 55. A billionaire once outbid Leonardo DiCaprio to buy a 67-million-year-old dinosaur skull for $276,000. It was later discovered to be stolen, forcing the billionaire to return it to the Mongolian government. 56. A millionaire bought an entire island just to ban tourists from ever stepping foot on it. Annoyed by crowded vacation spots, a wealthy businessman purchased a tropical island for himself and made it illegal for anyone else to visit. Locals now call it the Forbidden Island. 57. A die-hard coffee enthusiast spent $2,500 on a one-of-a-kind coffee bean that had a natural heart shape. Hopefully, they didn't just grind it up for a morning espresso. 58. A man bought Mars dust for $7,500. Turned out to be just Arizona sand. A space enthusiast thought he had purchased a rare sample of dust from Mars, only for experts to confirm it was just regular sand from the Arizona desert. Someone's space dreams got grounded fast. 59. An artist sold an empty picture frame labeled Invisible Painting for $10,000. The buyer was told that the artwork was only visible to those who truly understand art. 60. A couple spent $50,000 to make their house look like the Starship Enterprise. Die-hard Star Trek fans spent $50,000 to completely renovate their house into a replica of the Starship Enterprise, control panels, LED lighting, and all. Their guests? Very confused. 61. Someone paid $80,000 for a book that supposedly contained the secret to immortality. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. 62. A custom-built air-conditioned doghouse with a flat-screen TV. A millionaire spoiled their dog with a $50,000 doghouse featuring air conditioning, a temperature-controlled water bowl, and a flat-screen TV. Meanwhile, some humans can't afford rent. 63. A woman spent $5,000 to build a Zen meditation room for her dog, complete with soothing music, aromatherapy, and a tiny waterfall. The dog preferred sleeping on the floor. 64. A man spent $2,500 on a rock that looked like a potato. He proudly displayed it on his mantle, calling it the most perfect naturally occurring potato-shaped stone in existence. 65. Someone spent $12,000 on a haunted refrigerator that supposedly made strange noises and rearranged items inside on its own. Either it was possessed, or it just had a really bad motor. Do you believe in cursed items? What would you do with a fridge that moves things inside? 66. A woman paid $7,000 to enroll her dog in psychic communication classes. The instructor claimed they could teach the dog to mentally send messages. But in reality, the dog just learned how to stare intensely at people. 67. Someone paid $5,000 for a portal to another dimension. A so-called paranormal expert auctioned off a large wooden door, claiming it was a gateway to another world. The buyer later admitted he just wanted it as a cool decoration. 68. A man paid $100,000 to legally change his name to PlayStation 2. A hardcore gamer legally changed his name to PlayStation 2 after paying an absurd amount in legal fees. Sony didn't even give him a free console for his loyalty. 69. A billionaire spent $50,000 on a custom-built jungle gym for his pet turtles. The massive structure included miniature bridges, tunnels, and a tiny waterfall. The turtles, they mostly ignored it and sat in the sun. 70. Someone spent $3,200 on a haunted painting that allegedly made its owners feel watched. Previous owners claimed the figures in the painting would change positions overnight. Whether haunted or just unsettling, the buyer later reported having constant nightmares. 71. A man bought a $10,000 solid gold fishing hook. He never actually used it, calling it too valuable to risk losing. So, instead of catching fish, he just kept it in a glass case on his desk. 72. Someone spent $3,500 on a bowl of cereal from the 1980s, claiming it was a nostalgic time capsule. The seller warned that it was not for eating, but who knows if the buyer took the risk. 73. A man spent $50,000 to live like a medieval knight for a year. Obsessed with the Middle Ages, a man paid a castle owner $50,000 to let him live as a knight. Chainmail, sword training, and all. The twist? He lasted only 2 months before quitting because it was too hard. 74. A collector paid $2,000 for a vintage Coca-Cola bottle that was still sealed, with a dead bug inside. They called it a piece of history, while the rest of us just see a very expensive soda with extra protein. 75. A history fanatic paid $50,000 for a fully restored 19th century guillotine. No one asked why they wanted it. 76. A woman spent $5,000 on a custom throne for her dog. A woman commissioned a velvet throne with gold trim for her chihuahua, spending more than most people pay for actual furniture. The dog preferred sitting on the floor. 77. A rare Pringle shaped like the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars sold for $5,800. The buyer said they planned to preserve it like an ancient relic. 78. A man spent $3 million to buy a private island, then got bored and sold it in a month. A millionaire impulse bought a tropical island, thinking it would be the ultimate getaway. A few weeks later, he decided he didn't like the isolation and sold it for a loss. So much for paradise. 79. Someone paid $100,000 to name a star, but it's not official. A man spent $100,000 to name a star after himself, thinking it would be recorded in history. Unfortunately, the International Astronomical Union doesn't recognize star names. So technically, he just wasted a fortune. 80. A woman spent $9,000 to build a custom staircase for her cat. The feline, of course, ignored it completely and continued jumping on the furniture like always. 81. A luxury brand released cans of premium Parisian air for $500 each, claiming it was harvested from the most exclusive areas of France. Rich buyers loved it. Regular people were left wondering why they were paying for something free. 82. A man spent $50,000 to look like a human Ken doll. A fashion-obsessed man underwent multiple plastic surgeries to look like a real-life Ken doll. After spending $50,000 on jaw restructuring, lip injections, and body sculpting, he realized he still wasn't satisfied. His next goal? More surgeries to look like a perfectly photoshopped version of himself. 83. Someone paid $14,000 for a handbag made of real toast. A fashion designer created a fully functional handbag made entirely of toasted bread, coated in resin to keep it from crumbling. A collector paid $14,000 for it, which is insane, considering it's literally a sandwich you can't even eat. 84. A man bought an entire water park just to have it all to himself. A millionaire rented out an entire water park for an entire summer, ensuring that no one else was allowed in. Employees described it as the loneliest, most awkward summer ever. 85. Someone paid $75,000 for a slice of Prince Charles and Princess Diana's wedding cake. Decades after their wedding, a slice of their royal wedding cake was auctioned off for $75,000. The cake was over 40 years old at the time. Hopefully, the buyer didn't actually try to eat it. 86. A YouTuber spent $10,000 on a mystery box from the dark web. For the sake of content, a YouTuber spent $10,000 on a mysterious package from the dark web. The box contained creepy dolls, fake passports, old cell phones, and a USB drive with unsettling footage. Moral of the story: some things are better left unbought. 87. A woman paid $6,000 to give her dog a bark lift. Unhappy with how her dog's face was sagging with age, a woman paid a plastic surgeon to give the dog a facelift, or as she called it, a bark lift. The dog, of course, had no idea what was happening and still preferred rolling in the mud afterward. 88. A haunted wedding dress sold for $15,000. A woman claimed her grandmother's old wedding dress was haunted, saying it would float around at night and emit a strange perfume smell. Instead of destroying it, she sold it for $15,000 to a paranormal collector. Either it's actually cursed, or someone just paid a fortune for a dress with bad dry cleaning. 89. A gamer spent $500,000 on a virtual spaceship in an online game. A player in the game, Star Citizen, spent $500,000 to own a digital spaceship that only exists in the game. The worst part? The game wasn't even fully released yet. 90. A woman spent $3,000 to turn her dead cat into a purse. Devastated by her cat's passing, a woman hired a taxidermist to turn her pet into a fully functional handbag. Now, instead of carrying her cat in her arms, she carries it under her arm. Forever. 91. A social media influencer sold a jar of celebrity air for $500. Claiming to have captured air from a VIP-only Hollywood event, an influencer auctioned off a sealed jar. A fan actually bought it, proudly displaying their exclusive oxygen. 92. A man spent $10,000 on a parking meter removed from his favorite childhood street. Nostalgia hits hard, but this buyer took it to the next level, spending thousands to own an old, rusted parking meter from the town where he grew up. Why? Even he wasn't sure. 93. Someone paid $5,300 for a single McDonald's Szechuan sauce packet. After a Rick and Morty episode hyped up McDonald's long-discontinued Szechuan sauce, a single packet from 1998 was auctioned for $5,300. Hopefully, they didn't actually taste it. 94. Someone paid $9,000 for a teddy bear filled with shredded money. A luxury designer stuffed a teddy bear with shredded $100 bills and auctioned it off for $9,000. Let's just hope the buyer doesn't accidentally wash it. 95. A couple spent $35,000 to rent an entire zoo for their wedding. Their first dance? Right next to a giraffe enclosure. The guests? More focused on feeding the animals than celebrating the newlyweds. 96. A collector spent $30,000 on a medieval torture device. Obsessed with dark history, a man bought an authentic Iron Maiden, a spiked coffin used in medieval torture. His friends refused to visit his house after that. 97. A man paid $2 million to build an exact replica of the Titanic's Grand Staircase. A billionaire recreated the Grand Staircase from the Titanic in his mansion, complete with period-accurate chandeliers. Hopefully, this one doesn't sink. 98. Someone spent $300,000 to buy a parking space in Manhattan. Parking in New York is brutal, but one person spent $300,000 just to own a single parking spot. At that price, they could have just bought a house. 99. A luxury brand sold a $25,000 shoebox with no shoes inside. As part of a high-fashion conceptual art stunt, a designer label sold an empty shoebox for $25,000, calling it a statement on consumerism. And people still bought it. 100. A billionaire spent $4 million building a treehouse mansion. A tech mogul built a fully equipped treehouse with running water, electricity, and a home theater. Basically, the most expensive childhood dream ever. 101. Someone paid $500,000 to clone their dead cat. A grieving billionaire paid $500,000 to have their deceased cat cloned. The new cat looked identical but had a completely different personality. The lesson? Money can't buy your cat's love. Which of these purchases shocked you the most? Drop the number in the comments. Would you ever buy something this weird? Or have you seen crazier purchases? Let us know. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Got an idea for the next video? Comment below. See you in the next one.